Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. The 10 light pillars moved so fast that Luo Feng and the other 10 soldiers didn't even get a chance to dodge them. They were immediately enveloped completely. A voice resounded around Luo Feng and the other 9 soldiers. This is the second floor of Wui Tower, it said. You'll all be transported to a miniature world, and you'll be attacked there. All you need to do is to survive all the attacks in that small world. The previous group of soldiers have rested for a long time, so their godly bodies have recovered. As for the group of soldiers who just arrived, recover your godly bodies as quickly as possible. You'll be transported in succession. Those who hide in the spaceship to avoid the fight will be annihilated. And then, followed by a tremble in space and time, the teenager in dark red armor and the other 4 soldiers were quickly transported to a remote place on the red ground. The soldiers were scattered, and they were all trapped in miniature worlds measuring around 100 million square feet in diameter. We need to recover our godly bodies as soon as possible. Quick! Recover! Luo Feng and the other 4 were looking around, relaxed. They quickly used the valuables they carried to recover their godly bodies. It took time for the valuables to take effects. They had been transported here immediately after completing battle on the first floor. They couldn't stay on the first floor. Fortunately, Wui Tower was designed with this in mind, so they could have enough time to use the valuables they had to recover their godly bodies. The teenager in the dark red armor looked around. He was in a small world with a diameter of 100 million kilometers. A giant, ancient engraving picture with a diameter of 100 million kilometers appeared in the sky bearing engravings of all kinds of colors. Together, they formed the engraving picture just above the ground. Light shot out of the ancient engraving picture, followed by a rumbling noise. The light lashed out recklessly. The teenager in the dark red armor held a silver blade and used it to resist the light shooting toward him, but the shock waves absorbed by the blade blasted him away, and he rolled over in the sky. Countless beams of light plunged from the ancient engraving picture. Many were fired at him even as he was rolling over. Too powerful. Each beam of light is as powerful as an attack from a true god. I need machine-type valuables. The teenager in the dark armor was scared, and circular engravings showed up under his feet. The silver engravings wound around his feet and extended to his whole body. The teenager in the dark red armor sped up so that he wouldn't be blasted away by the beams of light. There were 5 soldiers in 5 different miniature worlds. All the soldiers were being attacked in the miniature worlds. Luo Feng and the other 5 soldiers watched. Luo Feng remained silent, while the other 4 soldiers were conversing, sometimes glancing at Luo Feng. It seems that the small worlds aren't that dangerous. It's much better than the first floor of Wui Tower. The first floor requires soldiers to fight each other, so at least half of them die. The soldiers are instead required to fight in the miniature worlds on the second level. Perhaps most of them can live. Luo Feng stared at the 5 small worlds in the distance. Indeed, ancient engraving pictures kept making attacks in those 5 small worlds, yet the attacks were only as powerful as ordinary true gods. With machine-type valuables, those 5 soldiers couldn't easily resist them. Can it be that the second floor is easier because too many died on the first floor? Luo Feng wondered. Soon, Luo Feng realized he was wrong. It's indeed a handful, but it's not that difficult to survive this. Just as the 5 soldiers in those small worlds began to feel relaxed, resisting the attacks, the earth suddenly started to tremble. The ground of the 5 small worlds started to tremble. Crimson liquid burst out of the cracks. The blazing fluids forced the 5 soldiers to fly up, not daring to land. The blazing fluids kept gathering. After a while, they formed a towering, dark red giant. As fluids started to clot on its surface, it transformed from a liquid giant to a rock giant. Hot liquid still flowed across its body. All 5 dark red giants looked up. Crimson fluids kept burst from the cracks, being drawn into the bodies of the dark red giants. The skies of those 5 miniature worlds kept making attacks below, and many beams of light struck the dark red giants. However, with each hit, only a portion of the rocks was blasted off, and those rocks quickly transformed into crimson fluids that reattached itself to the giants' bodies. Followed by the rumbling roar, the 5 dark red giants raced toward the soldiers. Some stomped across the ground with their enormous feet, while others raced toward them on their rocky fists. The soldiers were all blasted away immediately. No. Those giants are too powerful. They are doomed. Luo Feng and the other 4 soldiers, who were still recovering their godly bodies in the distance, were shocked. They could tell what a sinister world those 5 soldiers were trapped in. The dark red rock giants were definitely as powerful as true gods. Though those rock giants didn't have armor to protect themselves, the supply of crimson liquid was endless, so they could quickly recover even if they were injured. They were truly invincible. And they were not the only enemies the soldiers had. The beams of light kept raining down. The soldiers had barely been able to dodge the beams of light before. But now, they were also being attacked by the rock giants, too. Under such an assault, they couldn't dodge the light any longer, and they were hit continuously. They kept being hit by the beams of light, and they were all flustered. If they tried to dodge the lights, they would be attacked by the giants. The light kept coming down, and the rock giants were bellowing. The godly power of the rock giants was being quickly consumed. The 5 soldiers who were watching in the miniature worlds all looked solemn. The first 5 despaired. There were dangers everywhere. It wasn't that those soldiers were weak. Instead, the miniature worlds were quite hazardous. What should we do? We might face the same level of dangers. Countless beams of light raining down, and we need to deal with the rock giants. What can we do? If we try to dodge the light, we won't be able to defend against the rock giants. If we try to defend against the rock giants, we'll be hit by the light. Our godly bodies will be quickly consumed, so we may not survive. All the other soldiers grew nervous. Luo Feng, on the other hand, remained calm. He also looked solemn. Those are nothing to me, he thought. But will there be more dangers after the ancient engraving picture, and the rock giant? Will there be a third, or even a 4th danger? He wasn't overly worried about the rock giant and the ancient engraving picture. He was worried that there would be more dangers. No matter how powerful he was, his strength wasn't limitless. Usually, 1 out of 10 soldiers who enters Wui Tower survives. I can be the one. Luo Feng nodded and looked on with concentration. Wui Tower was the tallest building in Godly King Valley. Near Wui Tower was a 3-story silver ancient palace, and a large group of true gods guarded the palace. It was also the power center of Godly King Valley. On the 3rd floor of the silver palace were 4 gigantic thrones in the vast hall. On the far left throne was a huge cloud of black mist. The black mist was shaking as it shrouded most of the throne. The form of the throne was blurry, and wicked force emanated from the black mist. The other 3 thrones were empty. A screen of light appeared in the sky of the palace, displaying the scenes from the 2nd floor. It showed how desperate the 5 soldiers were. Useless. A sign came from the black mist. They are useless. These soldiers are useless. How long will it take before the peerless genius desired by His Majesty the Godly King shows up? It was one of the 4 leaders of Godly King Valley. Even though it was only a true god of void space, it had been sealed by His Majesty the Godly King. As a sealed great being, it could easily annihilate the leader of North True Ocean, even though they were both true gods of void space. Too weak, it said. Useless. This is only the 2nd floor. There were elite soldiers who performed better than them, yet none of them succeeded. As for this group, they don't have any hope. Another sigh came from the cloud of black mist. The world of Jin was the world of His Majesty the Godly King, and Godly King Valley was where he lived. The valley was actually entirely free of dangers, so there was no need for guards. The fact that was stationed here proved that His Majesty the Godly King trusted it. Its real purpose was to find a peerless being who could succeed at entering the 9th floor of Wui Tower. It's been too long, said the ancient voice. This is the only task His Majesty the Godly King gave us. So far, we still haven't done it yet. If someone can actually make it to the top, I'm willing to die for it. The voice was full of regrets for Majesty of Godly King as it whispered, is it that the competition within the world of Jin isn't enough? Should it be crueler? On the screen, the next 5 soldiers were also transported to their respective miniature worlds. The vast world on the second level of Wui Tower was a dark red piece of land filled with hot air that soared sky high. Even neutron stars from Universe Ocean might have been instantly burned to naught the moment they entered this land. There were 5 regions with 5 miniature worlds. Roar! 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 5 dark red rock giants were being tyrannical beyond reason as they went on a rampage, hitting 5 warriors and reducing them to a sorry state. In the distance, Luo Feng and the other 4 warriors watched in silence. There was worry in the eyes of the other 4 warriors. Rock giants are simply indestructible. We must try our best to buy ourselves time. The other 4 warriors were thinking of solutions to deal with their predicament. They had just undergone a round of fighting on the first level, and did not have as much time to rest compared to the first 5 warriors. They took a short rest off to the side, where they could see in advance the dangers that could be found on the second level. This was also a form of compensation. About half an hour later, after the previous batch of 5 warriors struggled through a tough round of fighting, Luo Feng and the other 4 warriors could feel the vibrations in their surrounding time and space. Then they were speedily being transmitted elsewhere. Luo Feng felt the distortion of time and space in his surroundings, as though he was being transmitted through a wormhole. When everything within his surroundings had stabilized, he had already entered a miniature world. Transportation only gives us such a short period of rest. But it also allows us to know the danger beforehand, which seems like a fair exchange. Luo Feng looked up toward the sky. Up in the sky, amidst the layers of dark clouds, a gigantic, ancient diagram of secret engravings appeared. The diagram of secret engravings was beautiful beyond words, so mysterious that it was unfathomable, and it enshrouded the entire miniature world Luo Feng was in. The ancient diagram of secret engravings was like a massive battleship with numerous gun barrels pointing downward and pouring out endless rays of light. Every ray was comparable to an attack from a true god. Fortunately, this was merely a test to hone and train skills, which was why those rays were spread over the entire region. If they had all been concentrated on one area, the combined attack of billions of rays would have been overpowering. Even an eternal true god would not dare put up any resistance. From this, it could be seen how extraordinary this Wui Tower, left behind by His Majesty the Godly King, truly was. Luo Feng looked up into the sky. Blood Ghost Blade, which was a stone blade slung across his back, was instantly unsheathed. Dang! Blood Ghost Blade warded off the attack from a streak of light. Luo Feng retreated 6 steps back in succession, and 6 large footsteps were imprinted on the ground where he trod. A short moment later, I have blocked off 9 streaks of flowing light. All are of different colors, but carry the same amount of power. In his mind, Luo Feng had come to an accurate assessment. He took a brief look at the ancient diagram of secret engravings, chuckled to himself, and then looked down at the vast land beneath. You rock giants! Hurry up and appear soon. Otherwise, I would have to use up a fair bit of my godly power just to deal with this ancient diagram of secret engravings. Luo Feng made a mental move of intention. Golden Claw God. Luo Feng's appearance underwent an instant transformation. As an automaton-type treasure, Golden Claw God could change color as it pleased, and so Luo Feng was transformed into a black, humanoid monster in an instant. His godly power was blazing up to facilitate the emergence of Golden Claw God, which instantly caused Luo Feng's speed, defense, resistance, attack, and various aspects to soar by 2 levels. Luo Feng was reluctant to execute extermination. The moment he did so, his godly power would be quickly drained. Coping with a crisis at this level, the amount of power he had under such a circumstance was adequate. The earth trembled, and Luo Feng rose up into the air immediately while looking down. From the depths of the numerous gigantic cracks found on the surface of the ground, a scorching crimson-red liquid was continuously erupting, rising up in surging, flowing tides. The great amount of the liquid was rapidly converging to condense into a huge, liquefied monster. Then the crimson-red, liquefied form rapidly condensed further. Eventually, a dark red rock giant was formed. The crimson-red liquid continued surging in to keep the rock giant replenished. Roar! The dark red rock giant tilted its head backward and let out a roar, then immediately charged toward Luo Feng. Great timing, said Luo Feng, revealing a hint of a smile. Thrusting hard with his feet, he left a huge claw print in the burning ground. Golden Claw God Luo Feng also charged toward the dark red rock giant head-on. In terms of volume, Golden Claw God Luo Feng maintained a height of 10,000 kilometers, and he was in the state that allowed him to unleash his greatest potential, while the dark red rock giant was close to 200,000 kilometers tall. Golden Claw God Luo Feng merely reached waist level of that rock giant. The rock giant let out a deafening roar. Soon after, a huge, rocky fist like a mountain peak came flashing toward Golden Claw God Luo Feng's face. Luo Feng's figure transformed as if he meant to dodge the blow. The fist followed Luo Feng's transformations closely, giving chase to deal its intended strike. This punch felt as though it could envelop everything between heaven and earth, denying Luo Feng any chance of escape. "This Wui Tower that His Majesty the Godly King built," said Golden Claw King Luo Feng. "Even any random creature that is formed by condensing energy can possess such a subtle fist technique." Golden Claw King Luo Feng sighed inwardly. At the moment, he was like a gigantic blade figure, and had changed course 3 times almost instantaneously. That didn't seem like much. However, to truly attain the ultimate level of his technique, changing course as many times as possible would mean that he had yet to accomplish that level. Ideally, a one-time change in direction should have caused his opponent's attack to fall short of the target. That was truly impressive. In Nine Smoke Marsh, Luo Feng had been able to easily evade the attack of a true god. But in the face of this red rock giant, he had to change course 3 times in succession in order to dodge a single punch. As he was dodging, Golden Claw God Luo Feng's sharp claws deliberately touched the rock giant's arm, causing the rock giant's huge form to sway in an unstable manner. Golden Claw God Luo Feng immediately seized the opportunity to hide beside the rock giant. A substantial amount of endless flowing lights descending from the ancient diagram of secret engravings high in the sky and bombarded the rock giant's body, but none managed to hit Luo Feng. Roar! The rock giant turned around to attack Luo Feng. "The moment I am within close range, you can rest assured that I will make full use of you as my shield," said Golden Claw God Luo Feng. Golden Claw God Luo Feng was like a ghost. Every move he made seemed to be in a linear manner, yet he changed courses several times at lightning speed, leaving the dark red rock giant befuddled as he ran circles around it. The rock giant bellowed. At times, it would turn around suddenly, at other times, it would mindlessly swing its fists in all directions. There were even times when its fists transformed back into the crimson-red liquid to attempt to enshroud and contain Luo Feng. In short, it was attempting many approaches. Yet Golden Claw God Luo Feng persisted in pestering the rock giant, circling the surroundings and utilizing it as his shield. Not a single one of the descending flowing lights from high above was able to strike Golden Claw God Luo Feng anymore. He would rather exchange occasional blows with the rock giant than be bombarded even once by those flowing lights. From how I see it, the rock giant is no trouble at all. On the contrary, it is a great help. With it around, I can consider myself covered by a huge shield. By using this shield, I can easily hide from the attacks of all those flowing lights. Luo Feng was executing that terrifying body technique of his to his heart's content, dodging when he could and borrowing strength when he should. There was simply no way he could be stopped or blocked. He would never insist on a fight against the rock giant, because he was well aware that a rock giant would speedily recover even if it got hurt in battle. It was an undying life form in every sense. If he were to insist on recklessly fighting it, he would only be speeding up the consumption of his godly power. Besides, at the moment, he was not executing extermination. He stuck with dodging as his main strategy. Against those descending lights from high above, he had the rock giant as his shield. And Luo Feng's godly power was being consumed at an extremely slow rate. Godly King Valley. Within the silver grey palace beside Wui Tower, on the third level. Within the hall, a suspended screen was displaying the scenes of internal battles within the 10 major miniature worlds. The current circumstances of all 10 warriors were shown very clearly. Within the hall, there were 4 thrones. The one on the far left was enshrouded by a gigantic cloud of black mist. Suddenly, that throne started to tremble. From within the black mist, a voice spoke. Body technique. The magnified scene of the current miniature world instantly shrank, while the scene of another miniature world grew in size to occupy almost 90% of the screen. Within the scene of that miniature world, the being that was engaged in battle with a dark red rock giant was none other than Luo Feng. This body technique. It's so. The Black Mist commander seemed to be extremely shocked. As one of the 4 major commanders of Godly King Valley, he had overseen generations of selections of Wui Tower, and had seen countless elite warriors. But this was truly the first time it had witnessed something like this, such a terrifying display of a body technique. This was, however, merely formidable in terms of body techniques. It did not represent all other aspects as being equally formidable. The ability to reach such a level might not imply that this warrior was equally superior in other aspects, but he surely had surpassed many elite warriors. Such a warrior. How is it possible that none of the other 4 generals mentioned a word about him to me at all? He is definitely an important seed. A most important seed that His Majesty the Godly King would need. And yet, the list of names submitted to me did not bear the name of this warrior. The Black Mist commander exclaimed this last sentence in a furious voice. His purpose in staying in Godly King Valley for countless years was to seek the one important, peerless character that His Majesty the Godly King required. Warrior Milky Way. Python River Army. Oh. So, he just joined the army. No wonder the 4 generals did not mention anything about him. He just entered the army, and yet he is here to carry out a mission to receive a title. It appears he has absolute confidence. Milky Way. Milky Way. Black Mist commander's voice contained a hint of delight. You 3 other fellows. Time to wake up from your deep slumber. Hurry over. Hurry over. His rumbling voice penetrated the entire silver grey palace, and reached a great depth underground. There, the other 3 commanders were deep in slumber. The commanders of Godly King Valley did not have many responsibilities, so the 4 commanders would usually assign one to preside over the general situation of Godly King Valley, and also to overlook all general matters of the entire Godly King sector. When unique circumstances arose, the other 3 commanders would be summoned. 3 extremely powerful auras arose, which caught the handful of true god guards within the Godly King Valley by surprise. On the 3rd level, within the hall of the Silver Grey Palace, there were 4 thrones. The far left one was enshrouded in black mist. The second throne to the left was occupied by a beautiful lady garbed in a suit of silver armor. Her gaze seemed to be the origin of all light, and under her watchful eye, it would be like bathing under the warmest lights. One could unknowingly fall into a world of light. Seated beside her was a tall, burly commander with blood-colored armor. This commander wore a helmet sporting 9 sharp silver horns that resembled machetes, and exuded an overbearing air of arrogance. Entrenched on the far right was a scaly armored beast that was black all over. This scaly armored beast had 2 faces, and each face only had 1 eye. At that moment, one of its eyes was open while the eye on the other face was shut. The wide open eye was entirely black and seemed to absorb everything. It exuded an immeasurably intense, murderous aura. A voice was heard resounding from the black mist. Quickly. The 3 of you, take a look. Look at that warrior controlling the golden claw god. The other 3 leaders, who had just woken up from a long sleep, were all staring at the floating screen of light. They were full of expectations. After all, His Majesty the Godly King had given them an order, which was to find someone who could reach the top of Wui Tower. They'd been waiting for this for a long time. This soldier. He's riding Golden Claw God, and based on its speed, that soldier has never used the godly power burning technique. All those 3 leaders kept observing Luo Feng on the screen. As for the other 9 soldiers, the leaders glanced at them and ignored them. They had seen many elite soldiers in all this time, and their attention only would be drawn when there were soldiers who were powerful enough. They kept watching. Time passed, and the 3 leaders were silent. "Brilliant body technique," said one of the towering leaders in sanguine armor. "He has many ingenious techniques. He's only a law master, yet he created such techniques, and he's proficient. He's literally playing with the rock giant during the combat." Little did he know that Luo Feng had fought many great beings in the space of inheritance for perfecting his body techniques, and he had even fought the 3 ancestral teachers many times. Under such pressure, it was easy for him to fight the stupid rock giant. Even eternal true gods in the world of Jin were qualified to engage in trial battles with beings like 3 ancestral teachers. "Even I am moved," said the towering leader. "You're an eternal true god. You're an eternal true god. Even you are moved," said one of the other 3 leaders. When His Majesty the Godly King left, all 4 leaders were sealed true gods of void space. After a long period of time, one of them became an eternal true god. However, based on the order of His Majesty the Godly King, all 4 leaders had responsibilities, so they couldn't leave the world of Jin at all. All 4 generals were eternal true gods, but they couldn't leave the world of Jin either. After His Majesty the Godly King left, some eternal true gods had been born, and they had left world of Jin one by one. However, none of them had come back. All 4 leaders were amazed by Luo Feng's body technique. If the body technique had been performed by a true god of void space, they wouldn't have been amazed at all, but it was performed by a law master. The comprehension between law masters and true gods of void space were at completely different levels. They had never seen a law master who was able to do that. "He has the best technique out of all the candidates we've seen since we started to guard Godly King Valley. He has an excellent body technique. And he's great at other techniques as well," said one of the other 4 leaders. The towering leader said, "Perhaps it's likely that he'll be able to reach the top of Wui Tower." The other 3 leaders immediately went quiet. They were all solemn, and the atmosphere was grave. They all stared at the screen. Accomplishing the dream of His Majesty the Godly King was more important to them than becoming eternal true gods, even more important than their own lives. On the 2nd floor of Wui Tower, in those 10 miniature universes on the dark red ground, the first 5 soldiers all looked in despair as lots of their godly bodies were consumed. Although the second 5 soldiers also looked embarrassed, they had only been in the miniature worlds for a short period of time, so they looked much better. As for Luo Feng, he looked completely fine. After all, ever since being transported to the miniature worlds, his godly body hadn't been consumed at all. He hadn't even performed the first level of Duan Mia yet. With Golden Claw God, his power was much stronger, so he was perfectly capable of fighting true gods easily. The first 5 soldiers lost much of their godly bodies. Though they are still alive, some of them will die in no time. Golden Claw God Luo Feng glanced around the 9 miniature worlds in the distance. Only he was able to take a peek around at a crucial moment like this. All 5 of them suddenly started to scream in agony. All 5 dark red rock giants in the miniature universes at the front started to scream with madness. The screaming of the rock giants was much different from the bellowing before. Not only did it sound odd, but it could also affect someone's soul. Even the soldiers in other miniature worlds were affected. Luo Feng and the other 4 soldiers from the same group couldn't help looking into the distance. Following the mournful screaming, all 5 soldiers from the first group panicked as they sensed that dangers were coming. Out of nowhere, a giant rock hand extended out of a crack beside the rock giant, and there were burning fluids surrounding it. There were 4 giant rock hands, and each was at least 1,000,000 kilometers wide. Attached to those giant rock hands were thick arms. They showed up out of nowhere and they grasped for the elite soldiers. Ah! One of the elite soldiers with a tattoo on his face tried to dodge it, but half of his godly body was grabbed by that giant rock hand. The giant rock hand held the soldier tightly. The ancient engraving picture kept diving, and lots of flowing light was poured from it, giving the soldiers much less time to dodge it. The dark red rock giant roared as it hit the soldier with its fist. That soldier who was hit was in anguish. He was being grasped and struck at the same time, which constantly consumed his godly body. Break! 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 The soldier kept fighting, and he even tried to use his godly hammer with his godly power, and he finally broke out of that giant rock hand right before the rock giant tried to hit him with its fist again. However, he had already lost a great deal of his godly power. Suddenly, another giant rock hand burst out of the crack. All of a sudden, all 5 soldiers were crumbling. It was a real life or death situation for them. And they were being crushed. Under the combined attacks of the giant rock hands, the dark red rock giants, and the ancient engraving pictures, the soldiers didn't have enough time to react to the attacks. They were all on the verge of collapse. The other 4 soldiers in Luo Feng's group all panicked. No. We're in deep trouble. Those 5 soldiers are suffering from the combined attacks, and soon will be them. Golden Claw God Luo Feng was contemplating. Apparently, 4 giant rock hands showed up at the same time, and they are around the dark red giant. Besides, the engraving picture is descending. Luo Feng immediately realized that it was dangerous. Those 4 giant rock hands alone were not a threat. However, once the soldiers were captured, the rock giant would be able to ravage them however they wanted. Fortunately, there were only 4 giant rock hands. What should I do? He wondered. Without any signs, the 4 giant rock hands showed up. Without any signs. What should I do about them? Luo Feng was nervous. If the ancient engraving picture hadn't been declining, he would certainly have flown higher, so that he could dodge those rock hands. Instead, the ancient engraving picture was declining, giving the soldiers less and less time to dodge the flowing light, and making it difficult for them to fly into the sky. They must be kept at bay. Luo Feng shook his head. Some of the soldiers will die for sure. They were indeed in a hopeless situation. With the ancient engraving picture descending, it was more and more difficult for the 5 soldiers to survive. Countless streaks of light kept striking below, and the engraving picture was dropping, hitting the soldiers over and over. The power contained in each streak of light could rival that of a true god. Huge hand. Rock giant. And an engraving picture. The space kept being narrowed, and it was difficult to dodge the rock hand. Soldiers in the first group were all burning their power and screaming, performing the best techniques they had to dodge those attacks. They would try anything just to stay alive longer. No. 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 A strange beast with 12 wings was suddenly seized by the rock hands. The dark red rock giant started to pound the strange beast with 12 wings. With a wail, the strange beast with 12 wings was annihilated, and all that was left were armors and valuables. The dark red giant raised its head and roared, excited. The rock giant and the rock hands all turned into crimson fluid and slipped into the cracks in the ground. The armor of the dead strange beast soldiers also fell into the cracks. The miniature world disappeared. Only 9 miniature worlds were left on the second floor. The other 4 soldiers from the former group were still struggling. It still hasn't ended. It should have stopped now. I've lost most of my power. If it goes on, I won't be able to hold it. The other 4 soldiers were all anxious. To lawmasters, losing a small part meant a tumble in power. Godly power would only be slowly consumed at the start of the battle, yet as the battle went on, godly bodies would be consumed at a much faster pace. The more godly bodies were consumed, the more godly power would be lost. It was a vicious circle. Everyone was in a panic. The soldiers from Luo Feng's group were all apprehensive as well. We have to save our godly power. Otherwise, we won't be able to survive the second floor. Just as they were feeling apprehensive, 5 shrill voices drilled into the souls of those 5 soldiers. The other 4 soldiers in Luo Feng's group were horrified. Why so soon? We arrived much later than them. They had been transported to the miniature worlds half an hour later than the former group, yet the ultimate nightmare arrived only 10 minutes later. Luo Feng surged and looked at the sky. That enormous ancient engraving picture kept falling down. The dark red rock giant also rose, following Luo Feng. Its job was to kill him. Each of the rocky palms was 1,000,000 kilometers wide, and the arms were exceedingly long. They extended and tried to seize Luo Feng, but he flew into the sky in advance. With a buffer of time, he could easily dodge the giant rock hand. In that ancient palace, the 4 sealed leaders from Godly King Valley, 1 eternal true god, and 3 true gods of void space were all staring at the screen, looking forward to seeing how Luo Feng performed on the 2nd floor of Wui Tower. This video will end here.